Hey everybody, welcome to Board Games with the Family. Today we're taking a look at the game Augustus. As usual, this video will be the rules overview. Then I will show you one or maybe more videos that deal with the gameplay. And then finally I'll give you a quick summing up video. So Augustus, as you can probably tell by the box cover there, this is a game set in the heyday of the Roman Empire. There is some story about one of the emperors dying and you're trying to wrestle for control, I believe. But essentially this game is all about scoring victory points. There are 4 ways of scoring victory points. The first and main way you'll find is by completing these different objective cards. The second way is by completing these different set collection bonuses. The third way is to complete different numbers of objective cards. And then finally, the final way is to be the player in control of the gold or the wheat at the end of the game. So before we go any further, it's probably worthwhile taking a look at the card in detail, because these are the main points of the game. So you start down here at the bottom of the card. This here is the number of the card. This comes into play later on in certain circumstances, which we'll take you through. This here is just the name of the card. This really has no bearing on the game whatsoever. It's just a bit of flavour text. Then we've got the picture here. Now this is an example of a senator card. This here is an example of a province. And essentially the picture again is just a nice bit of artwork. It doesn't have much bearing on the play. There are a couple of exceptions to that, which we'll cover a bit later on. Down here in the bottom right corner, you'll see the number of victory points. Whenever you see this laurel wreath symbol, that's the number of victory points. So this card here is worth 5, and this card here is worth 10. On the left-hand side of the cards, these are the mobilization symbols. So this shows you what legionnaires you need to mobilize in order to complete this objective. As you can see, this card is only worth 5 points, so it's relatively easy, whereas this one's a little bit more difficult. And finally, we have this thing on the top right corner, this banner symbol. This, and we'll look at this in more detail a bit later on, but this is the power of the card. So some cards, most cards in fact, have some sort of power on them as well as points. This card, for example, doesn't. There's no banner here. But how do you actually play? How do you complete these objective cards? Well, I think it's fair to say that Augustus is essentially bingo for gamers. Now I hope that doesn't put you off too much, because I personally find bingo fairly dull. This has a little bit of strategy to it, and is more interactive than just sitting staring at a card waiting for the right number to come up. Essentially, this all revolves around the town crier mechanic, as they call it. There's a whole heap of these what are called mobilization tokens, these double-sided, that are in this bag here. And essentially what happens is, we'll pop all these back as well, is one player will start as a town crier. Each player begins the game with 7 of these Legionnaire minis, which I'll try and get a close-up of, because they're pretty cool. And essentially the town crier will start, and what they will do, they will draw one of these tiles out at random, and this is a shield. So if I was this player here, I could pick up one of mine, and I've got 2 options here. I can either place it on this card or on this card, and it depends which one I think I want to complete first. But let's say I go for this here, and I could place the Legionnaire on that symbol. If I then draw another one, this time it's a chariot, which is nice because I need lots of chariots. If you look here, I need 1 on there and 2 on there. So I might decide to put it on there. And this carries on. There's a catapult, which again is quite handy because there's a catapult there. And if I draw swords out, I'd be surprised. I promise I haven't stacked the bag at all. And I managed to draw the swords. So at that point, I would say Ave Caesar. And what that means is this card is now completed. And I should have probably explained, which I didn't, but everybody will be doing this at the same time. So just like bingo, you'll have one caller, but everybody is placing their legions out on the spaces. So at this point I said Ave Caesar, and the first thing we do, it's easily possible for more than one person to shout Ave Caesar at the same time. So at that point, we look here at this number, and whoever's got the lower number, in this case I've got 36, we resolve in that order. But essentially what we do to resolve, I would move all these legionnaires off, back into my pool. This card then gets placed essentially in front of me in my completed area. I can immediately do what this power says. And then I can draw another card, which I haven't laid out yet. I can also then choose whether or not I want to claim these rewards, and it's probably worth talking about them now. So if I move these cards out of the way. So we will deal with these ones first. So these are the set collection bonuses. And what these basically tell you is what you need to achieve in order to get the different point values. So for example, if I'm the first player to complete 3 senator cards, I can claim this tile, and at the end of the game that is worth 2 points. If I complete 3 green provinces, and you'll notice that different provinces have different colours. There's 3 colours in the game. There's, I don't know how well this is showing up actually, but there's green, there's pink, and there's orange. Unfortunately, in this light, pink and orange look quite similar, but they don't in kind of real life. So if I'm the first player to complete 3 green provinces, I get 4 points. And again, I would take that tile and nobody else can claim it. So if you're the second player to complete, you get nothing, which is why sometimes those the order which you resolve those cards, if you both complete at the same time, that can be really, really important. This one, this needs a pink, green and orange province and a senator. So this is the only one of these cards that needs 4 to complete. That gets you 6 points. 3 pink regions can get you 8 points. And finally, which one I've never seen happen before, 3 orange provinces gets you a whopping 10 points. I should point out as well that you might think, well, why is green worth a lot less than orange? Green is the most common coloured province. Obviously, pink is the one in the middle, and then orange is rare. I think, from memory, there are only 10 provinces of the orange colour in the whole deck. And the problem is, although this looks like this is a big deck, you will not get through all this in a game. So you need to get this tile. You need to be lucky enough that at least 3 orange ones come out in the game, and that you can grab them before anybody else. So they are the set collection bonus. Let's say I think they're called the coloured objectives in the rulebook. And then we come to these ones here. These are called the numbered objectives, and this works very, very differently. So with the set collection ones we looked at a second ago, one player could conceivably get more than one. I don't think they can get more than 2. I don't think you've got enough provinces enough cards, but you can certainly collect more than one. You can collect as many as you can manage to get done in the game. These, however, you can only ever collect 1 of. So this is a bit of a push your luck element in the game. What this basically says is whenever you've completed the number of cards shown, so for example this one, I would need to have completed 4 objectives. Once I complete my 4th one, I can make a choice. Do I take this bonus, or do I hope I can get to 5, or maybe even 6, before any other player? So this is why it's a bit of a push your luck. So if I'm, if I've just completed my 4th objective, I have to make the choice. And let's say I choose not to. I say, no, I'm going to stay on here. If another player beats me to 5 and takes that one, another player beats me to 6 and takes that one, I then get left with nothing. I can't retrospectively go back and take this tile. It's lost to me forever. So that's why it's a bit of a push your luck. This is the part where you suddenly start watching other players. What are they likely to get? How soon are they likely to trigger the end game? Maybe I've only got 3, but it might be worth taking that rather than nothing. So it's just a nice little push your luck element in otherwise what is a game of bingo. And then finally, the last two bonuses work in the same way, but these are the gold and the wheat. Now, to explain this, this is almost for all intents and purposes, it's basically an area majority bit of the game. So some of these cards, some of the province cards, will have the wheat icon. Now, I said at the beginning that most of these pictures are just fluff only. And in fact, if you look at something like this card, which has got, I suppose that's cotton or wool, that is just fluff. There's no bonus for this. However, if you ever see the gold or the wheat, that counts. What happens basically here is, if I'm the first person to complete a wheat objective, I can take the wheat card, because I've got the majority. If another player then completes a wheat objective, so let's say they complete this card, then suddenly they've matched me, and we both got one each, and because that's the second player, they steal the wheat objective from me. So this is a bit of almost a race element. Who can get the most wheat? And obviously what's important is you have the most at the end of the game. So for this player to get the wheat back, they have to get another wheat objective. If they do, they can steal it back in. And it becomes a bit of a tussle between normally two players. There's not normally more than that going for it. Now, the sharp-eyed reviewers may have realised that this one, actually, this card, has both the wheat and the gold. So if this was the case that this player played the wheat first and got the wheat, when this player completes it, not only does he steal the wheat bonus, but he also gets the gold bonus, because at the moment he's in the lead on gold. So that's a pretty good card, which is why, by the way, it's probably only worth 4 points. And the other interesting thing about this, actually, it depends on the order in which you complete them. So, for example, let's say it's the other way around. Let's say this one gets completed first. So at that point, they will still get both bonuses. If this person then completes, he then steals a wheat back again. So it's a little bit strange. Most of these games would be like whoever gets the first one, the other person has to beat it. Here, it doesn't. Here, whoever gets the first one, the other player just has to match it in order to steal the resource back. So, that's all the bonuses, and that's how you score all your points. The other thing that is worth mentioning are these powers. So I mentioned the powers at the beginning, and I don't know how well this is going to show up, but we will see. So there are different coloured banners. Let me just try and organise them. Now, as I said at the beginning, there are some cards that have no banner at all. So this is literally just worth 8 points. Then it's done. Then you've got different banners, different colours. We've got the beige one. We've got the red one. We've got the black one. And we've got the white one. So beige are one-time use. Or not even one-time use. It's probably better to say immediate use. So you can't ever choose and hold it and then say, right, now I'm going to use the power. It's when you complete it, you activate the power. If you can't activate the power, then, so sad, but it's wasted. So in this example, this one means I can put 2 legionnaires on the sword icons, which would be quite handy. So if this was my hand, and it couldn't be because we only have 3 cards, but let's say it is, I could put 1 on this one and 1 on that one. Okay? And that goes into my completed area, and it's not used again other than scoring me 3 points at the end. So that's the beige ones. Beige ones are always immediate use. Red ones are the same. Red ones are also immediate use, but as you can tell by the very, very shady looking character here, these are attacking ones. These actually attack other players. So at this point, when you complete it, each other player, in this case, loses a completed objective. There are other ones here. I'm not going to go through every single example of the rule of the powers, but there are ones that make you lose meeples from the card. There are ones that make you lose all meeples from a particular card. There are these ones that make you lose completed objectives. And there might be some other examples. But essentially red is immediate, but it's attacking. Black, as you can possibly tell by the fact it's got the little hourglass up here, this is a permanent benefit. So what this does, in this particular example, this isn't focusing very well, but essentially this means whenever a catapult is drawn, I can count it as a banner. And, more importantly, whenever a banner is drawn, I can count it as a catapult. Now, you can't stack these, unfortunately. So if I had something that turned into a catapult, I couldn't say, alright, sword turns into a catapult, and therefore I can count that as a banner. These are kind of, they work both ways, but you can't chain them. But as long as I've got this card completed, I can always use it. And essentially the way it works is here, it's always the more... I can't remember what I'm looking for. The icon that has the more tokens in the bag, and that one has less. In fact, something I didn't show you earlier. These player tiles, or player aids, these show you the different symbols and how many of each there are. So sword is the most common. There are 6. Shield's got 5, and then come all the way down to the banners, which have 2, and the dagger that has 1. So that's a black. Black is permanent bonus. And the last one is the white. The white banner. These are end game scoring, which is why you'll notice there's a question mark at the bottom. So basically, this one's quite simple. For each sword icon in my completed cards, at the end of the game, I get 1 point, up to, if you see that, up to a maximum of 6. Okay, this one here, for example, for each green province I've completed, I get 2 points. So any time there's a white banner, there'll be a question mark in this bottom. So when does the game end? The game ends simply when one person has completed their 7th objective card. So if that was at the end of that turn, so just in case someone plays this kind of card and makes me lose one, if this was the end, the game would end. Now, I wouldn't necessarily win. All I would do is trigger the end game. What we then do is count up the scores. And that is basically how you play Augustus. There is one other thing I forgot to mention, which in here, because it didn't come out, there is this symbol, which I'll desperately try and find in the bag. Here it is. So this one, you might guess, this is the Jack. In fact, there are 2 of these in the bag. The Jack counts as a wild card, and everybody can count it as something different. So if the town crier calls out Jack, if this was a thing, this player might decide to call it as a dagger, and this person might decide to use it, if these are different players, as a chariot. So it's not like the town crier decides. Each player individually can decide what the Jack counts as. Now, the Jack does one other very important thing. It resets the bag. So whenever the Jack is called, once the turn's been resolved and anything, all the tiles that have been drawn go back into the bag, and the town cry passes to the next player. Now, there's no advantage over being the town crier, so if you've got young children, you could always just let them be the caller or the town crier the whole game. It doesn't really matter, but if they enjoy it, why not? So that is how you play Augustus. What I'll now do, I'll get rid of all these cards. I will set up the game, and what I'll try and do is a 3-player run through, I think. I'll see how that goes. And we'll just show you how the game's played, and that probably gives you a better idea of the game flow. So I'll see you in a little bit.